section we will be figuring out how to use ipython with Cloudmesh. Let's first figure out if we have Cloudmesh installed. So we say which Cloudmesh and make sure that this is really the Cloudmesh program. So you can see that we have successfully installed Cloudmesh. And before we install ipython, we can also demonstrate that we can use Python as an interactive shell to interact with Cloudmesh. So let's first import Cloudmesh library with the import statement, and then maybe execute one of the commands that we have in Cloudmesh. The most simple command is simply the version function that prints out the version, or we can use also the string function. So we say Cloudmesh underscore version underscore underscore version, and it prints out the version from Cloudmesh that you currently have installed. So let's go out and let's switch back to ipython. And ipython provides the convenient shell interface that allows you interactive use as well as annotation. And we have quite a few ipython notebooks recorded as part of the Introduction to Cloud Computing GitHub repository as part of Cloudmesh. So please use Git to clone this repository and download it. And then you can cd into this particular repository. You can see that there's a source code. Now you need to be fulfilling first the requirements to this particular program. Now we install the requirements, and they're already here all installed as I have run this previously. And now I can try to create even the documentation for Cloudmesh locally on my computer. So I could be using the predefined command fab.html, or much simpler, simply say make. There's a make file there. So after if you type make, the make file gets started, and the ipython notebooks get automatically converted into RST. We have written programs that actually do this automatically for you and put them in the right location. This creates a nice web page for you with all the documentation and training material that we have presented in this particular website. It also, as mentioned, places the ipython notebooks into the website itself and creates an index of all ipython notebooks that are being located in this particular website. Additionally, we are installing here now all the other web pages that are related to the documentation. And once finished, we should be able to view the documentation locally. This particular program requires also that you have LaTeX installed, but if you don't like it, you can modify the fab.doc.py program, which is laying in the fab file directory, to exclude, for example, the creation of LaTeX, the PDF document, or the creation of the EPUB document. So I have both enabled here so that you can even have these documents locally. Now let's take a look at what we have created. So we type fab.doc.view, and as you can see from the URL web link, we are actually running this particular documentation locally rather than from the mycloudmesh.org website. And it also has the ipython notebooks on the side that we can visit. But one of the problems that we have is we don't have yet an ipython notebook server running, so that if we were to click on these ipython notebooks and try to execute them, this currently doesn't work. So what we want to do now is this, we want to install a server. Thus we need to be starting the notebook server first. We have already done this in previous exercises, so if you have it already running, there's no need anymore to do anything. But if you have not running, then what we want to do now is to start a notebook server on a different terminal. In order for us to make it more clear which terminal we are using, we just set the prompt to learning for our Introduction to ipython notebook. And we will set the prompt for our server to server. Now we can simply execute or go into our cd Cloudmesh directory where we have Cloudmesh installed and simply say fab server start. that the server is being started. This naturally takes a little bit time, so be patient, especially if you have the MongoDB database not yet created. So let's wait till the server is starting up. And here the server is already started up, and it goes to the server page because the server is a little bit too slow for the web page. Let's do a refresh. So what we can now do is we can now switch back to our learning window or terminal. And here we can now start the IPython notebook server, which will be starting up an IPython notebook server and go to the appropriate page so that we can execute the IPython notebooks. We have written a special program for this that's called fab.doc.notebook that will start up the server. And as you can see, the server started up, and I will be automatically redirected to the page that contains the IPython notebooks. So let's go to the notebooks and go to the first notebook to demonstrate that this actually does work. So here we see an import statement just as we had in the Python program before. We press the play button, it's being executed. We continue pressing the play button and it's being executed. Now you may say, well, nothing actually happened, but the information was already filled out. So one of the things that we can do is we can kill the output. But before we do this, we want to restart the IPython notebook server. Let's restart it and go to the cell and kill all outputs or clear all outputs from all cells. Now we can run our program. You see that the numbers on the side have changed, and indeed we have now executed our example with the IPython notebook. You can continue doing this with all the other notebooks. This way you can just press the play button and have a very nice way of interacting with Cloudmesh without doing much editing, because you can execute them in the notebook. Certainly you can create your own notebooks just as usual. Just let's use the Python edition feature here just to demonstrate that this really does work. So you just play the play button, and here you see that the result comes back. That's all there is to know about the IPython notebooks. As said, we have in the list of notebooks a number of notebooks included, and you can try them out. So there's a variety of examples available. For example, here that we deal with namings. Let's clear the output. Let's start the execution. And as you can see, is my output will be automatically included into the IPython notebook. I have nice messages in between so that I can figure out, what this exercise was about. And as you can see, this works quite nicely and uses the Cloudmesh Python API to interact with the backend system. We also have the same for command line tools in Cloudmesh, so you may want to visit those, or the shell API. Thank you so much for your participation.